The moment I walked into that room, the laughter stopped. Not because I was impressive, because I was black, and someone in that room had planned it that way. If you've ever been underestimated because of who you are, this story is for you. Subscribe and stay till the end. You will not regret it. I have never walked into a room and felt invisible and too visible at the same time. Until tonight. But let me start where it actually began. 3 days earlier, when my phone rang at 11:47 in the night, and my boss, Mr. Daniel Cho, told me I was being reassigned to a private legal consultation in Gangnam-gu. Top-tier client, he said. High discretion required. You're the best we have, Elsie. I should have felt proud. Instead, something cold and quiet settled in my stomach. Because Daniel Cho had never called me after 11 p.m. Not once in 4 years. I am Elsie Adaze Okafor, 29 years old, Nigerian-born, Seoul-based corporate attorney. I passed the Korean bar exam on my first attempt, something even my senior Korean colleagues quietly admitted impressed them. I speak 4 languages. I negotiate contracts that move hundreds of millions. And yet, there are still rooms in this city where people look at my skin and decide, before I open my mouth, exactly what I am worth. I have always known this. I carry that knowledge the way some women carry pepper spray. Quietly, always within reach, hoping I never need it. That night, I ironed my best suit. Charcoal gray, structured shoulders, the one that says, I am not here to be underestimated. I pinned my locks back carefully. I polished my shoes until I could see my own reflection staring back at me. Yot's deep brown skin, dark eyes, rich and warm, the kind my mother said glowed like the last light before sunset. I stood straight. I told myself this was just another consultation. I had no idea I was already the punchline of someone else's joke. The dining room stopped me in my tracks. 12 people, long table, crystal glasses catching candlelight like scattered diamonds. Every surface in that room reflected light, and every pair of eyes reflected shock. The silence was not polite. It was the kind of silence that happens when something has gone wrong in a way people find entertaining. A woman in red, razor cheekbones, pearl earrings the size of my thumbnail, looked at me the way you look at something that has crawled in from outside. Slowly, deliberately. She leaned toward the man beside her and whispered behind perfectly manicured fingers. The laughter was swallowed, but I heard it. My hands were steady, my face was composed, but inside, something ancient and exhausted said, "Here we go again." I looked for a side seat, a corner, anywhere that wasn't the center of this particular humiliation. Then a chair scraped back. At the head of the table, a man stood up. Tall, black suit cut like armor. A jaw sharp enough to be dangerous. Dark, unhurried eyes that moved across the room, the way a camera records everything without reaction. And on his neck, ink. A tattoo climbing above his collar like a secret he had stopped hiding. Ji-sung Park. I knew the name. Every corporate attorney in Seoul knew the name. He crossed the room. Oh, every person at that table watched him the way prey watches something it cannot outrun. He stopped directly in front of me and said 4 words that rearranged the entire night. "You're right on time." I stared at him. "I think there's been a mistake," I said. "I was assigned here for a legal consultation. There's no mistake." His voice was quiet. That was the terrifying part. Men who shout are performing. Men who speak quietly have already decided. "Sit down, Elsie." My name in his mouth stopped me completely. Not Miss Okafor, not the attorney. Elsie, like he had been expecting specifically me. Behind him, the woman in red set her wine glass down with a sharp little click. Ji-sung. Her voice was honey poured over broken glass. "Surely there's been a mix-up. We can call the agency." Min-ji. He didn't turn around. Finish your wine." The table went absolutely still. I filed her name away immediately. The way she said mix-up, with that precise, poisoned sweetness, told me everything. She had been expecting this moment. She had been looking forward to it. She was the one who sent me here. I didn't fully know it yet. But my body knew. The way your skin prickles before a storm arrives. Ji-sung extended his hand. Not to shake, but to guide. Palm open, fingers relaxed. The gesture of a man who opens doors rather than kicks them down. I don't understand what's happening, I said, low enough that only he could hear. You don't need to understand it yet, he said. I need you to trust me for 40 minutes. Can you do that? I looked at his hand, the scar across his knuckles, the tattoo climbing his neck. 40 minutes. I placed my hand in his. As he seated me beside him at the head of the table, a water glass appeared, then a wine glass, then a plate that cost more than my monthly rent. Dinner resumed as if I had always been there, as if 12 people hadn't just watched their world tilt sideways. Ji-sung spoke with the economy of a man who had never needed to raise his voice to be heard. Business. Names I recognized from financial filings at my firm. I said nothing. I ate carefully, slowly, performing smallness, the way I had taught myself to eat in rooms like this. You're not eating, he said, without looking at me. I am. You're managing. There's a difference. I set my fork down. Across the table, Minji was watching us with the expression of a woman calculating a loss she hadn't prepared for. Then she spoke. Ji-sung. Her smile was surgical. I want to be clear about her role tonight. I'd hate for anyone to confuse the help with the guests. The table held its breath. Ji-sung set down his chopsticks. One slow, deliberate movement. Minji. His voice dropped half a degree. Elsie is the most qualified attorney in this city. She is here because I specifically requested her. And the next person who implies otherwise? He looked around the table slowly. Will find our business arrangements become significantly less comfortable. Nobody laughed. Nobody whispered. Minji lifted her wine glass with a hand that was not entirely steady. Have you ever been the most qualified person in the room and still been made to feel like you didn't belong? Tell me in the comments. When the last guest left, Ji-sung led me to a study off the main hallway. Bookshelves, low lamp. A cedar and old paper. The room of a man who thought in private. He placed a document folder on the table between us. I opened it. My photograph was inside. My CV, my bar exam results. A contract negotiation I had handled 2 years ago. A deal that saved a Seoul tech company from a hostile acquisition. I've been watching your career for 8 months, he said. That's either flattering or terrifying. Both. The corner of his mouth moved. I needed someone completely outside my circle, no existing loyalties, someone they would never see coming. My chest tightened. They sent me here as a joke. Yes? You knew? He was quiet for a moment. I suspected Minji would try something like this. She has spent 2 years trying to destabilize me. She believed putting a black woman at my table would embarrass me in front of my associates. She was counting on me to send you away. And instead I saw exactly who walked through that door. His eyes were steady and direct. Someone completely real. In a room full of people who have been performing for so long, they have forgotten who they actually are. The silence between us was different from the silence in the dining room. That one had been designed to shrink me. This one had room to breathe. You used me, I said. He didn't flinch. I protected you. There's a difference. But I understand if you can't see that yet. I should have left. Every rational part of my brain said, collect your bag, walk out, never look back. Instead, I said, why does it matter to you? What I am, what they think. Ji-sung turned his glass slowly. I grew up in Incheon, he said. My father worked cargo ships. My mother sold rice cakes from a cart outside the port gates. When I was 12, my father's employer accused him of stealing. He hadn't stolen anything, but my father was poor and the employer was not. So my father was poor and guilty rather than poor and innocent. He paused. I know exactly what it feels like to walk into a room and watch people decide your worth before you open your mouth. Everything I have built exists so no one can do that to me again. I sat with that. Minji, I said quietly. She's more than a business associate. His jaw tightened. She was engaged to me 4 years ago. I ended it when I discovered she had been feeding information about my operations to a rival family. She has been trying to dismantle me ever since. So tonight was personal. Tonight was war. She chose you as her weapon because she thought your presence would humiliate me. He looked at me directly. She miscalculated. Something shifted between us in that quiet room. Not romantic, not yet. Something quieter. The recognition of two people who had been fighting the same battle from different sides of the world. Tell me about Nigeria, he said. So I did. 3 weeks later, my phone rang at 6 a.m. My senior partner, voice flat, a man delivering a verdict he had already rehearsed. Elsie, come in. The termination letter was already printed and waiting on his desk. We received a complaint, Daniel said, eyes avoiding mine. Allegations of conflict of interest, that you've been sharing confidential client information with Ji-sung Park. The room tilted. Oh, well, that is not true. I know. And the devastating part, he looked like he genuinely meant it. But the complaint came from someone with significant leverage. If we don't act, we lose 3 major clients by Friday. Min Ji. Of course, she had watched Ji-sung choose me in that dining room and gone home and built a bomb from it. I walked out of that building with a box and 4 years of my career erased before lunch. I called Ji-sung. Voicemail. Called again. Voicemail. Then a text from an unknown number. Stop contacting him. You've already cost him enough. Minji has everything. If you keep pushing, she goes to the prosecutor's office. Walk away, Elsie, for his sake. I stood on that cold Seoul pavement, box in my arms, heart hitting the floor. And I believed it. That was my first mistake. I disappeared for 11 days. Ji-sung called 7 times the first day, 4 the second, then once every day after, like a man who refused to accept silence as a final answer. I stayed in my apartment, rewrote my CV, told myself I was protecting him. On day 5, my mother called from Lagos. Elsie, what is wrong with you? Nothing, Mama. You are lying to me in 3 languages. What happened? I told her everything. The dinner, the silence, Ji-sung standing up, Minji, the termination, the text. My mother was quiet for a long time. Then, did he send that text? No, but did he ask you to leave? No, but Minji said, Elsie Adayesi. Her voice dropped to the register she reserved for truths too important to shout. You have spent your whole life deciding how a story ends before it is finished. You read the first page and close the book because you are afraid of what comes next. That man stood up in a room full of people and chose you when he did not have to. And you are hiding in your flat, letting his enemy win. Not because of what he did, because of what you're afraid he might do. I stared at the ceiling. She was right. I had been so prepared for abandonment that I had abandoned him first. I picked up my phone. Ji-sung answered on the first ring. Have you ever walked away from something real because you were afraid it wouldn't last? Drop your answer below. Where are you? No anger in his voice, just relief, raw and completely undisguised. Home, I said. I'm sorry. I thought I was protecting you. I know what you thought. Steady, certain. Minji sent that text from a burner phone. My team traced it 3 days ago. I've already filed against her. Now, blackmail, corporate sabotage, and 2 years of evidence I've been building. The breath left my body completely. She cost you your job, Elsie. I don't let things like that stand. Ji-sung. Your senior partner received calls this morning from 3 of the firm's largest clients. All of them made your reinstatement a condition of continued business. I pressed my hand over my mouth. You didn't have to do that. I know. A pause. I wanted to. He came to my apartment that evening. No flowers, no grand gesture. He brought groceries, cooked in my small kitchen, jacket off, sleeves rolled up, neck tattoo visible above his collar. Completely at ease in a space that had nothing to prove. He made rice, simple, careful, perfect. We ate at my kitchen table and talked until 2 a.m. about Incheon and Lagos. About fathers who gave everything until nothing was left. About rooms designed to break us that somehow made us harder instead. At the door before he left, he turned. That night, when you walked in and the whole room went quiet, you didn't flinch, not once. I was terrified, I said. I know. His eyes were warm and completely certain. That's what made it extraordinary. I closed the door, and for the first time in years, I stood inside my own life and felt exactly like I was where I was supposed to be. If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. and tell me in the comments what moment hit you the hardest.